Welcome back everyone to another Star Wars Armada Explained. We're going to look at another experimental retrofit. We're going to look at the Grav Shift Reroute. How can you tell if it's to be equipped to experimental retrofit? You look at the card, bottom left you'll see the icon for experimental retrofit. And on the opposite side you'll see how many points it costs, which is 2 points. This card is a unique card. You'll see the little bullet point next to the name of Grav Shift Reroute. It means that you can only have one card of this type deployed on your fleet. And the card reads, before deploying fleets, place one Grav Shift token anywhere in the play area. After deploying fleets, you may move each obstacle at distance 1 to 3 of that token to within distance 2 of that obstacle's current location. Obstacles cannot overlap tokens, obstacles, or ships. So how does this ability triggered? So before you put out, like for example, any ships in the deployment area, either yourself or your opponent, make sure you resolve any before deployment actions, and this is one of them. So then you put down all the obstacles already. That's where all the obstacles are going. Depending on if you're first or second player, if both players, for example, brought a Grav Shift Reroute, the first player deploys his token first, followed by the second player. The first player can choose not to utilize this card, but he then cannot, the moment it's passed, he can't just be like, oh, I'm going to put mine down now. That's benefit of, first versus second player. First player has to resolve all of his before deployment effects before the second player does. In this situation, we'll only just have the one. So we got a lot of obstacles. They're fairly close together. So let's see how many we can nab within distance 1 to 3. Well, I think it will be a little hard to try to get some of these outliers. I think with a little bit of maneuvering, you probably could get, these 4. Or if you put this over here, you can definitely get these 4. So why don't we just go ahead and say, you know what? I want to move these 4 obstacles. And then you put that token down right there. Now this effect doesn't get resolved until after all the ships are on the board. So for example, you've put all your ships down, you've put all your squadrons down for both yourself and your opponent. Then this is when the ability is then triggered at the very end of all of that. First player resolving first, then the second player. Or if there's only just the one player who has it, then just that player. Then you take that token, so the black is distance 1, the red is distance 2, so you can move it to within 2. Now I can't move this to hit on, and now the Grav Shift token itself is considered a token, meaning you can't overlap it with your obstacle. But I can move it to within distance 2, so I say I'm going to move that right there. Boom, I move that guy. And this does negate that whole, for most things you can't have obstacles closer than distance 1 to each other. This negates that. It's just as long as they're not overlapping. And you can't overlap, again, tokens, obstacles, or ships. Squadrons are fine. If they're squadrons, totally can overlap them. Not a big deal. And for example, if we're playing contested outpost, you can move that outpost distance 2, and then boom. Look at there. Now you're already claiming that token. You didn't even do anything. We're claiming the outpost. You're already within distance of it. But you can't do, like for this guy example, I can't move him to overlap that rock. Not possible. Can't overlap the token. I could definitely have them nudging and touching each other, but I can't overlap with it. So just move it anywhere you want. This guy moves there, and then that is that effect. Now you don't need to remove the token after everything is resolved. You could theoretically just keep that token there, but it doesn't do anything else for the rest of the game, so it's best just to pull it off the board so it's not getting in the way of anything else. And that is Star Wars Armada Explained, Grav Shift Reroute. There is one card clarification for this, and it's a very important one. I'm going to read it. It says, obstacles moved with this effect are restricted from overlapping tokens, obstacles, and ships only at their final position. If an obstacle overlaps one or more squadrons, move any overlapped squadron out of the way and place the obstacle. Then the player who is not moving the obstacle places the overlapped squadrons, regardless of who owns them, in any position touching or overlapping that obstacle. An obstacle moved with this effect can be rotated as long as no part of that obstacle is beyond distance 2 of that object's original position. If an obstacle with an objective token placed on it during setup of dangerous territory is moved with this effect, that objective token remains on that obstacle. After deploying fleets, if the ship with this card equipped is not in play because it has been set aside, that ship's owner cannot resolve the remainder of this card's effect. What does that mean? For example, if you're doing hyperspace assault and your interdictor had placed that token down and then you decided, you know what, I'm going to put the interdictor in hyperspace, meaning it's been set aside, you just negated that card's purpose. It can't do anything anymore. It can't resolve it all because the ship is in hyperspace. It cannot no longer resolve the remainder of the card's effect. And that is everything for Grav Shift Reroute. If you feel like anything's in error or if I got anything wrong, please be sure to comment, let me know. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed the video.